Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Spring Orchestra concert. For those of you that don't know, my name is Joe Santanello, and I am the band director here at the North Penn High School, where we are this evening for this lovely concert. I just wanted to welcome everyone tonight and just share with you how awesome it is to have this stage full of string players behind me. There are 110 string musicians on the stage tonight, and I think that's something to celebrate before we even start. And you're in for a real treat tonight. You're going to hear this full string orchestra. You're also going to hear our chamber strings group, which numbers about 40, which is really big and really exciting. And we also, at the end of the night, are going to have a full symphony orchestra, which includes woodwinds and brass and percussion. And there will be almost 140 young performers on stage for those two finale pieces, which is going to be really exciting. You're in for a real treat. I have not gotten to hear the orchestra much, except for a few little bits and pieces of rehearsal, but they sound absolutely fantastic. We are so lucky to have this string program here. We're so lucky to have amazing elementary and middle school string teachers, many of whom are here tonight to see the concert, who are training these students to come up and be so amazing. And we're very lucky, very, very fortunate to have the amazing Mrs. Kaylee Santanello directing this high school orchestra. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Santanello and our North Penn High School Orchestra.
much for joining us this evening. Thank you. My name is Mrs. Kaylee Santanello. I have the absolute pleasure to teach these 5 musicians here every day. So thank you for all of your support in helping them grow to this stage. We are very lucky here in North Penn to have such a strong string program. And our first piece that we are playing for you is called Daybreak, and it is the title of our program today. I was coming up with a theme for our concert, and I was thinking about how this is my beginning here at North Penn High School. And so I came up with the idea of beginnings, and then I was thinking, what is some symbolism of beginning? And I thought about a sunrise, right? The beginning of a new day. So in this concert, you'll hear music about sunrises, morning, but then we'll go a little deeper into the meaning of beginnings, and I hope you enjoy. So our first piece was Daybreak. It was supposed to symbolize a sunrise, which I think they did an excellent job of. Our next piece, also by a modern composer, Yukiko Nishimura, is called Morning Dew, and you're supposed to feel like you are waking up to dewdrops on petals, sleeping under a tree. I don't know how often all of you are sleeping under trees, but I wish I could do it. It sounds pretty idyllic, but we hope you enjoy. Here's Morning Dew. So our next piece is a little more of a stretch on the beginnings theme, but I have a connection. So this is the Capriol Suite. It was written by Peter Warlock in 1926, and it is an arrangement of Renaissance dances. So where music in its secular state, so meaning not played in a church, had its beginning in Western music, was at court or homes of the aristocracy, playing dances as entertainment, right? There wasn't radio around. If you had music, it was live music. So there were certain forms and styles of playing that musicians would have to have often memorized, and the certain titles to the pieces, like you might have heard of like a minuet. Well, a minuet is a kind of dance, right? We call them dance suites. So this is a dance suite based off of Renaissance dances. Now, some of it sounds like it's from the Renaissance. Some of it does not, right? You will hear, especially at the end, if we really dig into it, how it's probably not exactly what you would hear in the Renaissance, but it's based off of where music had one of its beginnings. Thank you for your patience. We have a brief transition here. So here at North Penn High School, we have orchestra class every day. Students can take it 2, 4, or 6 days in the cycle. So what we work on in orchestra class is music that you just heard, and also music that you'll hear later on, the symphony orchestra music. Next up on stage, we have our chamber strings. Our chamber strings are our auditions group, so they auditioned at the end of last year. There's auditions coming up, if anyone is interested, June 9th and 10th for next year. The chamber strings plays in the community. We just played a concert at Brittany Point a couple weeks ago, which was a stellar concert. We're playing one with Symphony in a couple weeks. Night of the Arts we're playing at, and we're also doing Music in the Parks trip on May 30th. So we have fun things planned in the future as well. Our first piece with chamber strings is called Dreaming. Now this one fits into the beginnings theme pretty easily because any start begins with a dream, right? Where am I going to be? What am I going to be doing, right? Every beginning starts with a dream. So here's Brian Balmage's Dreaming. Thank you. Sorry, I needed a second to. That was beautiful. So chamber strings played in March for an adjudication and got superior on that piece in our next one. And the judges were really tough. There's this one lady, I don't know if you know her, Mrs. Melbourne. She was I'm just kidding. She gave us a great score, as deserved, right? As deserved. Speaking of great educators, we, as I said earlier, are really lucky here at North Penn to have such a great orchestra program, but it doesn't happen just in high school, right? This begins from 3rd grade, maybe even sooner. So I wanted to take a moment, if there's any of our teachers in the audience, whether they are North Penn music teachers or maybe private lesson teachers, if we can have you stand and acknowledge. I see Mr. Pimentel here. It takes a village, right? So our next piece for chamber strings is called Overture to the Wind, and it is about the beginning of a thunderstorm. So you'll hear it's very programmatic. At the beginning of the piece, there's this intensity, and it's not super loud yet, right? It's not super loud yet. But there's this intensity that, like, oh, something's about to happen, right? And then you hear the storm rolling, and then there's that moment of calm in the middle of the storm where you're like, all right, it's fine, everything's fine. But then it comes back. So we hope you enjoy Overture to the Wind. Thank you. Can we have another round of applause? We had two soloists, Nicholas Hartman and Caitlin Cho. Okay, so at this time, we're gonna have if you're a senior, can you come to the front of the stage? You can bring your instrument with you. Seniors, you can come up this way and just stand at the front of the stage for me, please. Thank you. Just right here. No. Perfect. That is perfect. Not entirely sure we'll all fit up here, but we're going to see, because sadly, there's a lot of seniors. Yeah. Wow. This is the first time I've seen them all together, so I'm at a loss for words. So first of all, let me say, our time together was entirely too short, but the honor has been all mine to meet such incredible young adults, and everyone here couldn't have been more welcoming and helpful, especially senior year, having someone new in here. I understand, it may have been different than what was before. So I want to start with saying just a personal thank you all so much for how you've led our program this year. Also, I want to take a moment to reflect, because many of these students have been playing their instruments for, a decade at this point, right? How many of you started in 3rd grade on your instrument? Okay, nice. Now, did anyone start before 3rd grade, like Suzuki? Yeah, so this is a commitment that you've already put most of your life into, right? So I leave you with this charge. We're not going to have our final, what note was it? E, yes. Oh, the second violins end on an E, so they're very upset that their last note of the concert is going to be an E. Not that there's anything wrong with E's, but... So we're not going to let whatever our final note is in our last couple pieces here be our last note on our instrument, right? Regardless of what we're going into. I mean, if it's music, that's fantastic. But if it's medicine, if it's sciences, if it's politics, if it's looking down the line here, mathematics, whatever you smart cookies are doing with the rest of your life, make sure music stays involved in it. And there's so much you can continue to do with music in your future. There's community orchestras. There's orchestras made up entirely of doctors, right? So music's going to take you a long way. It's taken you very far, so far, to develop you into awesome leaders. But the North Penn community and our orchestra program specifically have are just so grateful to have had you be a part of our program here. So I brought you all a rose that, you could throw it out if you want, or you can dry it and keep it forever. That's the kind of thing I would do. But I imagined this being easier to do. So how about at the end, before anybody leaves, senior, maybe we can meet back up here and we'll all take a rose and take a picture. Okay? All right, can we have one more round of applause? Class of 2025. And we'll grab a photo after, so please be sure to stick around. All right. Okay, you guys can have a seat. Thank you so much. All right, yeah, now we can switch back. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Last piece, which is not this one yet, everyone does end on an E all together. We thought that was really sweet. Unison E. E for everyone. Can't believe I did that. Everyone. E for everyone. E for Okay, so we have two more pieces for you. This is our symphony orchestra. It consists of members of our orchestra class, but also some members of our band program who have volunteered their time, or what's the saying? Voluntold in some cases, their time to be a part of our symphony orchestra. So we're really lucky to have been able to put this together. Our first piece here is highlights from Wicked, and I was supposed to think of a way to relate this to beginnings, and I forgot. But I'm sure somewhere in the story of Wicked, there's new beginnings. Elphaba, something. So we hope we just really wanted to play Wicked, so we're gonna do that now. Thank you. I was just saying, that's going to be a hard one to beat. Whew. But our last piece here, the one with the famous ending on an E for everyone, is called Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. And so we had to end with it, right? The piece is all about a journey, right, from the beginning to the end, and the transformation that happens within that journey. So the composer, Soon-Hee Newbold, she writes a ton of string orchestra music that we love. Explained it as all of the trials and tribulations, the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into different challenges in your life, but then you'll hear in the middle that there's this moment of peace, and then at the end there's this excitement. So just like all of us are on our journey, and our seniors we were talking to before are on to their next one, Alpha and Omega is a display of all of that. So thank you all so much for joining us this evening. And also, I hope you'll forgive me. We don't get to meet as an orchestra all together. So I'm going to take a moment right now to talk to everyone here and say that I am so incredibly proud of all of you and handling this level of music, because this is not easy music, and you all have really rise to the occasion, and it seemed like we had a good time doing it. So I really enjoyed being on this journey with you this year, and thank you all so much. Again, I'm so proud. And here we are, with our final piece, Alpha and Omega.